Hi there and welcome to a little let's play of Digital Integration's 1993 title Tornado. I'm just going to let the music play down a little bit so we can hear each other. This has been one of my great passions for a little while, is playing Tornado and getting to learn and love it. I'm going to talk you through how to play it basically. First thing we're going to look at is a bit of the hardware that you might want. So this is one of the setups I frequently play it on. It's a Windows 98 PC and I have a joystick. This is the Flight Extreme 3D Pro, a very capable USB joystick. It doesn't matter about the buttons you get, it doesn't matter if it really has rudders, because this game allows you to do rudders in a different way. It's good to have. Also, full keyboard's great, and a CRT monitor if you can get one. Also, if you can get the box copy of a Tornado, get it. It's worth it. We're going to have a look inside about all the things that you get with it that you just don't get with a digital release, you might miss out on. Inside the box we get maps, we get a boot disk, which is a must if you're playing it on a DOS PC because it complains about too much memory. Technical compendiums, you get a campaign booklet. Here is the cheat sheet for the controls, which is great to have just next to your keyboard. And one of the best parts about the stuff in the box, Tornado the manual. This is a manual that I frequently read over and over again, and there's just so much good information in there. It's written so well that it is probably the first game manual I've ever fallen in love with and read again and again. So let's get back to the game. When you strike up Tornado, you're welcome to this cool menu, and from here we can select lots of different bits and bobs. You can create a pilot. Here's Flight Officer Tibbs. Currently on this PC I've got 1.1 hours, 2 missions completed, 8 attempted. Your pilot can die and will die. There's 3 different modes. Simulator, where crashing doesn't matter, and you can set up parameters. There's training, where it acts like you're not at war but you are flying, so you can die in that one. And combat, which is the full real deal. We'll discuss the options a little bit later, but for now we're going to select free flight from runway, and I recommend this is probably the first one that you do. Here's the much lauded mission planner, spliced in some clip from a little training video of the Tornado. This is how they pre-program that fancy ground following radar navigation system that the Tornado was lauded for. And here we have a similar sort of deal. We can fully set up missions here. You see me deleting the waypoints to make the mission shorter. Now, when I originally captured the footage for this, I forgot to check that the audio was running, so I've got no audio capture, so what you've heard is just a WAV file of the Tornado soundtrack in the background up until now. And from here on out we'll be listening to a video of an F-14 Tomcat, I believe from DCS, as a bit of a background noise. The engine isn't the greatest in this game, so let's start. Welcome to the Tornado cockpit. We're going to look at the controls. In the bottom left here you can see that we've got flight controls such as flaps and swing angles. Top we got a brake light indicator and gear. There we have that ground following radar in a profile view. The MDF center, engines, early radar warning system, and fuel remaining. And they are the most important instrument cockpits. Here's our different views. We got up, down, left, right, and of course the Tornado's a 2-seater, so we have a rear view. The rear view is interesting. We got 3 MFDs to monitor: MFD right, MFD left, and MFD center. All of them configurable, and they can be points of interest for your mouse as well. In the center we got weapons, and on the right we got the attention getters for problems. We also have access to a full screen map here. Let's look at some external views. Pressing F1 and then F1 again gets you high or low external view. F2 will give you an above vehicle view or under vehicle view, depending on what you how many times you click it. F3 gives us a pass camera, so if we were moving, the plane would fly away. And F4 starts looking at other vehicles in the vicinity, so we can monitor those by flicking between them. So let's go back into the cockpit, and without further ado, we'll light up the engines. To do that, we just hold down the plus button, and we're going to watch the engine rev counters on the right of the MFD go up to 100%. Then pressing shift and plus again lights our afterburners. Now we press B, release brakes, and we're away, just like that. So providing we got our flaps in the right position and our wings are swept out, we're looking for 125 knots or above to start pitching that nose up. Here are some, I believe, Gulf War footage of tornadoes. So here you see we got to 180, pitch nose up, gear up with G, and then immediately we want to move those flaps out of the airstream using the Q button. Pressing Q once and then twice to put the flaps completely away, and we can see there on the left our flap indicator moving up. Then finally we can swing our wings to the intermediate position using the S key. We want to monitor that speed. Having our wings out going too fast will damage them. There we go, wings are fully swept back, and we're proceeding up to 400 knots. Right, at this point we can engage our fancy terrain following radar system, and that will follow that track we set on the way plan. So to engage that, we hit F7. That will start us on the track mode. Now to set a speed, we can hit F10. That's going to set our autopilot for speed. And then finally, what we want to do is make sure we press F9 usually, and that will engage the terrain following radar section. So usually, if we'd pressed F9 now, we would see a T below the speed indicator on our HUD. If we look at the top right of the HUD, that's our altitude. Here we are in the back seat view. We're going to look at our waypoints, the central map. And you can see us here turning towards waypoint C. Interesting to note, in that center MFD there, we can see our altitude heading, our instrument airspeed, our target time to next waypoint, and then you can see your sort of mission time. So that's saying we're running 2 minutes 43 seconds late. That is an exaggeration because of the altered mission plan that we set up, so it didn't take that into configuration, I believe. So switching to an external view, this is the view I like to keep in use most of the time when I am not in the cockpit. This allows me, because there's no look back button in Tornado, that allows me to keep an eye on my 6 for missiles. And of course, having good all-around vision is always key. Let's go through some of those cameras. Now, once the Tornado is on rails, your main job in Tornado now is to monitor your flight plan, monitor your speed to make sure you arrive on mission time, monitor fuel. You're also going to be monitoring the radar tracking system to make sure that you're being pinged by missile and AA systems. And yeah, apart from that, monitor the air in front of you, because if you start seeing a little grey pixel flying around, there's a good chance that it could be a MiG. So So while the concept of flying the Tornado, now that it's set up with its tracking, it seems simple. Like I said, there's always something to be doing, and usually there's an attack run to start getting ready. So we can see here we are actually loaded for bear. We've got multiple weapons on board, but we're actually just on a training flight. We're heading to waypoint D, where we'll make a sharp turn for waypoint E, and there we will show you an ILS landing. Sometimes the map in the back seat's not the easiest to use. A good way is to try and line up the coordinates top left and top right and bottom right of the screen. I've just set their target way of opportunity to see that my heading was correct, which was 7172 or 7171, and now I move the cursor down to 0 distance on the bottom right. Now you see here on the top right, the plane is auto lowering itself to the 1500 feet altitude that we set, but I have got terrain following mode on, so there is a mountain just below us, and if the mountain gets too low to our 1500 feet, the plane will auto adjust its altitude for us. So we're starting into our final turn. Something I like to do to speed up turns is to flare the wings and drop speed. While in your full sweep back configuration doing above 400 knots, it can take you a little while to turn around. It's not the most nimble of planes, so knocking your speed right down, hitting the air brake, which is return, and swinging your wings forward with the W key can enable you to take some tighter turns. And here we go. Put the heat back on for a minute. We're starting to line up with the runway there. I'm just using the cursor keys to move, or the mouse key to move us around. So now we're setting up ourselves for a landing. When you're setting up landing, you're going to start to look for some symbology on screen. So landing strips in this game have something called ILS, as long as it's not damaged during the combat, as your airfields quite frequently come under attack. So ILS is like Instrument Landing System, or some acronym to that effect. Basically it uses radio beacons to plot your landing for you, so it's like coming in on a radio homing beacon. So when we see that, there we go, ILS has just come in range. So that crosshair, if you are landing manually ILS, you'll have to line yourself up with the crosshair and follow the crosshair in. But we've got the fancy autopilot, so we hit F5 or F6, sorry, and that goes into ILS track mode. So again, the Tornado is going to fly its own approach, only requiring us to take manual control in the last few seconds to put the plane on the deck. So during ILS approach, it's a good idea to make sure your map's all sorted out. If you have to touch and go, you want to think about where your exit's going to be and how you're going to get back round for another approach. Also, you're going to have to start setting up your plane for a landing. So while your speed is now, and altitude and approach is all automatically governed, what isn't governed is your configuration. So I'm going into what's called a bit of wing stall now. So my speed is too low for my wing configuration, so I need to apply some flaps. Pressing the A key puts the flaps down, one position, and I'm going to swing the wings out to full position. And then finally I'll move the flaps in a second back down to landing. We get below 1,000 feet, I like to put the gear down, make sure the gear locks out. What we're going to look for in the top left of our instrument panel there is the 3 green lights to be lit. If any of those are red, then we've got defective gear from battle damage. and we will have to think of another way to land, whether that be belly up or to ditch and eject. So the landing strip's now coming into view. We're getting beyond 1,000 feet and the gear's out. Check gear, gear good. Again, bit of wing stall going on. We're right, the computer runs us right on the verge of a stall. Yeah, putting them flaps down has now solved that stall issue. So what we're going to look for is the altitude indicator is going to go off on the right and give us an audible warning that you can't hear. And then I cancel the autopilot at this point. Right, now we're on manual. So we're looking to keep our ILS, our nose of our aircraft, in line with that, and not to take too much power off, because like I say, the computer runs you right on the edge of stall. So don't take too much power off, knock the power off now, flare a little, and let the nose come down. That's probably one of the better landings I've ever done. From this point, you can briefly hit the backspace for a bit of reverse thrust, and then hit the wheel brake, which is B. But do not keep the reverse thrust brake on below a certain speed and a engine speed. You can ingest your own exhaust fumes and blow up your engines in this game. So wait for the plane to roll to a stop. Right, and you have landed your Tornado. Pressing Control and Q will now get you out of the game. Okay, so here we are at the debrief, and our debrief is good landing. So that was our first run at Tornado, doing a takeoff and landing. There's loads of training missions to play. I recommend you play through them all. We've done it a few times, it's pretty good. Before we move on to going into the real world training. Well, thanks for joining me. If you want to see more, please leave some likes so I can gauge how much engagement there is for this game. I'm sort of doing this for people that may have bought the game on Steam and don't have that physical media and don't have the time to read through a PDF. So I'm going to be talking you through some flights, some training exercises, some attack runs, some weapons training, and talking about the keys that we use to do that in the process. So thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.